Vienna, Austria. Winter of 2017. Deep beneath the Austrian National Archives, hidden behind reinforced steel doors and temperature-controlled corridors, lies a chamber few people ever enter. The air hums softly with machinery designed to preserve fragile remnants of the past. Shelves stretch endlessly into darkness, carrying documents that survived wars, fires, and centuries of forgetting. At exactly 9:17 in the morning, the silence is broken. Not by an alarm, not by a researcher, by a child's voice. "That sentence doesn't describe a miracle," the boy says quietly. "It describes a mistake." Every adult in the room freezes. The boy's name is Jonah Weiss. He is 6 years old. Pale skin, dark curls, and eyes that rarely settle on faces, but linger endlessly on patterns. Cracks in stone, repeating tiles, shadows on the floor. Jonah was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. He spoke late, spoke little, and avoided most social interaction. Teachers described him as distant. Doctors described him as high-functioning but withdrawn. His mother, Dr. Hannah Weiss, never agreed with either description. Hannah is a cultural historian, specializing in early religious and philosophical texts. Her work focuses on how stories survive, not because they are true, but because people choose to remember them. At home, Jonah filled notebooks with symbols. Not letters, not drawings, symbols. They didn't resemble Hebrew, they didn't match Greek, they didn't align with any known script Hannah had studied. She assumed coincidence, until Vienna. The manuscript had arrived at the archive 6 months earlier. It was confiscated from a private collection after the sudden death of an antiquities dealer known for acquiring objects with questionable origins. No records, no provenance, no catalogue history. Carbon dating placed the document between the years 360 and 410 after Christ. But its age wasn't what disturbed the scholars. It was the language. Some lines resembled early Latin. Others echoed Syriac phrasing. And scattered throughout were symbols that behaved less like words and more like emotional markers. Every attempt to translate the manuscript failed. The document was sealed, classified, restricted to senior researchers only. Jonah was never meant to see it. Hannah brought him with her to the archive that day because she had no childcare. She expected him to sit quietly in the corner, drawing in his notebook as he always did. Instead, Jonah stopped walking the moment he saw the glass case. His breathing changed. He stepped closer. "That line is wrong," he said. Archivist Dr. Emil Kraus looked up sharply. "What line?" he asked. Jonah raised his finger and pointed. "That one. It says he spoke when he shouldn't have." Kraus felt a cold pressure behind his eyes. "No one here has translated that section," he replied. Jonah shook his head slowly. They tried to clean the story. Hannah watched her son carefully. Jonah wasn't reading from left to right. His eyes jumped, paused, returned, as if the symbols weren't fixed in place, but layered, stacked meanings hidden beneath one another. He's not reading text, Hannah realized. He's reading intent. Jonah spoke again. "The writer wasn't a follower," he said. "He was watching." Kraus knelt beside him. What was he watching? Jonah tilted his head the way he always did when processing something complex. A teacher who didn't want to be remembered like this. Over the next 2 hours, Jonah described a man, not by name, by fear. an observer who followed a teacher during his early life, not as a believer, not as a disciple, but as someone trying to understand what he was witnessing. "He writes after everyone is gone," Jonah said. "He's hiding what he saw." One symbol, previously dismissed as ink damage, was re-examined. Under magnification, it wasn't damage at all. It was a signature. Not a name, a role. Witness. Jonah's voice lowered. "He says people misunderstood the silence." Hannah swallowed. "What silence?" she asked. Jonah looked directly at her, a rare, intense moment. "The moments where nothing happened," he said. "Those mattered more." He described a place, not metaphorical, physical. A hollow in stone where questions were louder than answers. Against protocol, Krauss authorized a preliminary field investigation. No media, no announcements, just a small team and quiet curiosity. The location Jonah described matched a collapsed limestone formation outside ancient Aquileia in northern Italy. Unexcavated, ignored, until now. The cave itself was unremarkable. No altars, no gold, no signs of ritual worship. Just walls marked with the same unfamiliar symbols Jonah had drawn since childhood. At the far end of the cave lay a shallow recess. Inside it, wrapped in decayed fabric, was a thin wooden tablet. One word was carved into it. Remember. Jonah never touched it. He didn't need to. "He says he didn't come to divide people," Jonah whispered. "He came to teach them how not to be afraid of being wrong." Carbon dating later confirmed the tablet's age matched the manuscript within an inexplicable margin. At the bottom of the manuscript, Jonah hesitated. "This part was written later," he said, "after regret." He described another location: water, depth, stillness, where sound disappears. The description led investigators to Lake Ohrid, one of the oldest and deepest lakes in Europe. Years earlier, sonar scans had detected a submerged stone formation there, dismissed as natural. Divers descended. What they found was not natural. A sealed stone box. Inside were fragments of parchment preserved by cold water and darkness. One phrase appeared again and again: "Truth survives quietly." The discovery did not remain secret. Scholars argued, institutions panicked, authorities demanded silence. Jonah was removed from public view. Hannah refused every interview request. Late one night, Jonah read the final symbols aloud. "There is one last place," he whispered, "where fear became obedience." Hannah didn't ask where. She already knew. The site was not a church, not a shrine. It was a forgotten execution ground, buried beneath layers of modern stone. Ground-penetrating radar revealed a hollow chamber below. Inside it, there were no objects, no relics, no text. Only carved symbols. The same symbols Jonah had drawn his entire life. Jonah stared at the wall for a long time. "He didn't leave words here," Jonah said quietly. "He left a warning." Dr. Krauss asked, almost afraid of the answer.
"About what?" Jonah replied without hesitation. "About turning stories into weapons." Years later, Jonah Weiss lives quietly near Naples with his family. He no longer draws symbols. He no longer speaks of manuscripts. He studies astronomy now, patterns that don't belong to humans. Sometimes, late at night, Hannah finds him staring out toward the sea. When she asks what he's thinking about, Jonah shrugs. "Some stories end when they're understood," he says, "and some never wanted to be told out loud."